Welcome to the Holistic Grief Coach podcast, the podcast about shining your light and rediscovering purpose after loss. I'm Kaylee O'Connor, grief coach, integrative trauma coach, and founder of Good Grief and the Holistic Grief Coach certification. Here we're opening up conversations about grief and the journey of reclaiming your identity when life has changed forever. You'll hear inspiring stories from certified holistic grief coaches and other guests, as well as solo episodes from me where I'll share tools, teachings and truths from my own path along grief. So if you're here to rebuild and rediscover who you are after loss, or if you're looking to become a grief coach or find some purpose in your next chapter of life, you're in the right place. Let's begin. So welcome, Gemma, to the Holistic Grief Coach podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm really good, thank you.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have you here. You are our first one on the podcast, which is super exciting.
Yes, thank you for having me here. Yeah, it is really exciting.
So can you tell everyone who's listening, obviously I know you quite well, but just a little bit about who you are, maybe about your personal journey and what brought you to becoming a holistic grief coach?
Yeah, sure. So, I feel like I've, had quite a lot of losses in my life. The first major loss was my dad, who passed away 18 years ago. I was 22 at the time, a complete daddy's girl, expecting my first child, and I was soon to be getting married. So, back then, it seems like a lifetime ago now, but I didn't really know about grief back then, other than like the typical 5 stages of grief that you're taught when you're younger. I don't think I really acknowledged at the time how it could affect you sort of in your mind and your body and your spirit. So I feel like I was just moving forwards, just bypassing it. I didn't really process what happened. I think there was also an element of I was trying to be strong in there as well, obviously, for the baby, but also for me. So I was probably avoiding it and protecting myself at the same time. And then more recently, I lost my mum to cancer in 2023. And that was the most difficult experience that I have ever been through. I feel like you kind of have the loss of your loved one, the person who meant everything to you, your world. And then I lost who I was as a person. And I had the grief of the build-up, the anticipatory grief, I call it like the illness grief, because cancer is such a huge, it's such a huge, devastating, problem and topic. So I feel like I witnessed it personally for the first time at that moment in my life. But in all my losses, it kind of led me to this path, to the people and the group that you don't want to be a part of, that you find such lovely, people that understand your journey and understand what you've been through, and also just the knowledge of grief, that's been really helpful and sort of led me onto this path. And also you're coming across your content. I feel like it has really opened up my eyes to grief. It's given me a lot of insight and awareness. And I feel like in some ways this journey found me, not I found this journey. Like it was always meant to be like a soul purpose. It was just meant to be what I was meant to do. I was meant to come here. And I think it helps because, I have the experience of losing someone. I know what it's like to lose your world, but I also know what it's like to pick yourself back up again and keep moving forward. So I think that's, hopefully shares a little bit about my journey here.
Yeah, you've been on a massive journey, and I've obviously only witnessed this journey over the last 6-7 months, and in that time you've grown massively. But it also sounds like because of the loss you've experienced, you really just understand grief on a very deep level, and that's then led you to what you call your soul purpose, which I love.
Yeah.
That calling that you feel has been there and has brought you to this work. That's amazing to hear.
I do feel like every grief experience you have is different. How it happens is different. How you respond to it is different. And I think it's only through the awareness and moving with it that you can, I feel like that's where I've really grown, by not fighting or hiding from it, but acknowledging it and processing it.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you about what life was like before loss. And I know there's been 2 major losses in your life. So that might be, you talk about both of those things. And yeah, I mean, I'm happy for you to kind of share what feels safe. But yeah, how did those experiences shift you and who you are?
I mean, I feel like with both of them, you do have to grow up, don't you? It shatters your foundation and it shatters your world, and you do have to pick up the pieces and move forwards, trying to sort of rebuild again. It's difficult with Dad because it was so long ago that it's hard to sort of think about what life was like then. But thankfully, obviously, I have the happy memories with Dad, and that's kind of that's the only thing I can go back to with Dad is the younger years. But I think as you're growing up, you tend to tune a lot of your life out anyway, don't you? And you just kind of go with the flow. To me, I always saw life before my loss as sort of fairly normal. Life did have its ups and downs. I've had mental health problems, I've had bullying, the normal things that we all go through to sort of get there. And they seem like a lifetime ago, but I think with all of it, I have grown from all of it. But the losses have had the most impact. And yeah, so yeah, I think just life, now I feel like I'm moving forward and I'm changing and I'm growing with it. I feel like there is an element of looking back and feeling like, did you take what you had for granted when you've lost someone? You want to go back to that time and cherish it and just really savor it. But I think now looking back at my time before then, I can look back and I do feel blessed and I do feel very grateful for what I did have in my life. It all had its purpose and its rhyme and its rhythm.
Mm.
And now I can remember happy memories rather than when I lost them, it was bad memories. When you first lose them, I had really bad night terrors, really bad night dreams. Whereas now I can look back and I'm grateful for everything. But before the loss, you just don't think about it.
You're kind of in like, you're just in a little bubble, aren't you, before
Yeah.
anything like that happens, especially, losing, a parent and both parents in your case
Yeah.
at a point where you don't expect that to happen. You're not even thinking that that will happen. And am I right in saying you were pregnant? Yeah, during.
Yeah, I was pregnant when we lost Dad. I was kind of halfway into my pregnancy. So, that was hard because well-meaning friends would say, you've got to be strong for the baby, you've got to keep moving forward. So I think there's the element of, right, don't cry, just be strong, keep moving forwards. And then you look back at the milestones they weren't here for, and it is hard.
So you have that extra layer of understanding grief at really pivotal points in your life. I have a lot of clients who come to me when they've lost a parent and they thought they were entering what would be a really happy chapter.
Yeah.
Then it's been a really confusing chapter. And it sounds like you really understand that personally and help people with that because you understand it. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, yeah, you think, as a kid, you're looking forward to growing up, but then you grow up and you realize, oh, no, I've lost both parents at a really young age, and you're trying to adapt your life, to that loss at a time that should be your, like thriving, your 30s and you're thriving kind of.
Mm.
But yeah, in reality, it's not always that way.
So when you look back on your journey, what have the turning points been where you feel you're learning to work with your grief and yeah, I know that word healing doesn't kind of sit well with everybody, but what were the turning points that helps you feel like, oh, okay, like I'm learning to work with this. This is changing, it's moving.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind the term healing, but I kind of think of it as, it's always ongoing. Your healing is always ongoing and you can always work on it, but there's never an end point to your healing. And I looking back, I think there's been lots of moments where I have grown and I have reached turning, but not specifically. I suppose the biggest area I can think of is when I'd lost mum and we had her house. It was on the market to sell, and I would drive past her house multiple times a day and night, and I had to get past her house to get out of where we live. And I started noticing sensations that were coming up in my body. I felt really uncomfortable. My chest was hurting, and I couldn't pinpoint it at that time as to why it was coming up. And it was worse at night. And looking back now, I don't know. You think, is it because dark is always, night is always a time where you're like vulnerable and where it's quiet and you're thinking. But I think maybe in my head I thought, oh, there should be a light on. Why is there no light on in the house? It seems empty. I think that was the start of my healing, was when we moved into the house instead of selling it, and the sensations had gone. There was no, I didn't have that horrible fear and anxiety that I was feeling. And for me personally, I feel like being in their space, in their house, with my stuff around, the stuff that they had, I feel like that really helped me on my journey. But as I say, I feel like there's been loads of points
Mm.
to look back on and find that they've helped.
Can I share something on that?
Yeah,
I sometimes feel like when we lose a parent or both parents, it's like we lose our foundations, and like the foundations of a house. And, if I'm thinking of like our basic needs, our Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we need safety and we need to make sure we're being nourished and we're eating and we're sleeping. And I feel like grief kind of just comes in and like knocks everything over. And
yeah,
in order to rebuild, we need foundations. And so it's amazing that you moved into the house and you saw that as a turning point, because that feels really, really clear to me as recreating your foundations so that you could feel safe. Does that resonate with you?
that does completely. And obviously my parents, they've always been my safety. They've always been the foundation. So, at the time, I didn't quite register what was going on. My body was telling me something, and my head was telling me sort of something related to it, but not quite. It's quite incredible, really, that part of just acknowledging it, moving in, and then the fact that I'd felt better. It's incredible because it was rebuilding my stability and my foundation back again.
Yeah, so important. I found that I moved house last year and it took me a while to kind of refine my feet, but the moving has then made me kind of be able to grow outside of my comfort zone again. And I
Yeah,
found that when I moved the first time, and there was a big connection to the house I bought and my dad, and I found that it created safety for me to then build upon. So it's amazing that when you find that foundation and that safety, how much healing can happen. So I don't know when that was, but now you've just done a 6-month certification to become a holistic grief coach. Feels like that in itself has been a big turning point. So I'd love to know what drew you to doing the certification in the first place.
I mean, I would agree with you there that this certification has been a huge turning point and it has helped me to grow massively. I remember that I signed up to one of your Zoom meetings. I think it was probably a mum's day or a dad's day, maybe. And I found so much safety in what you had created. And I think it just helped me. I didn't feel alone, and I felt there was so much knowledge behind it that, it wasn't just all this, sort of taboo stuff. And then shortly after that, I think it was when I started seeing your content about becoming a grief coach. I couldn't put it down. I felt drawn to it. I try and shut it away, and I just kept coming back to it. I kept thinking about it. I feel like it's something that I was meant to do, and it kind of found me in a way. And I think that, there's a part of me, because I know loss, I want to help and support others. I have some understanding of what it's like. Obviously, everyone's journey is completely unique, different, but there's also a part of me that wants to reshape the way we look at grief and just sort of re-educate about how we handle it. I think this goes back from my generations in the family, in that my nan had lost her mum when she was 8 or 9 years old. And back then, I remember Nan telling me that you weren't even allowed to say her mum's name. Like, it was really taboo. You couldn't, once she'd gone, that was it. I feel quite deeply that you should be able to grieve how you want to grieve, and, you should be able to say their name. And I think that also sort of led me to feeling like this was a path I was meant to be on, because I think everybody should be allowed to have their grief and not be ashamed of or embarrassed to say what's coming up for them.
That's so amazing. And it feels like you're doing like work for like previous generations.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like it generational trauma, isn't it? Making what should have always been okay. I feel like we are reaching that point where we can say the name, grieve how we need to, and acknowledge what comes up, rather than back then it must have been a horrible way to deal with grief because there was no acknowledgement.
I'm so glad that you've done the program, because I just feel, I know there was some hesitancy initially around, is it the right time? Am I ready? And I'm just so glad, because you're the most fantastic coach. Honestly, it's been amazing to see you grow and hold such a safe space for people. I think a natural gift for creating that safety. And I'm not just saying that to everyone. I really do feel that when I'm watching you coach. When you think about the program, for anybody listening who's like, what is this certification? Like, tell us a little bit about if there was a particular module or session or tool that really resonated with you.
I think I did enjoy looking at the grief education. I think that aspect was really helpful, and also the nervous system knowledge, because that's all completely new to me. And so I think that also helps in not just in grief, but in all aspects of your life. But in answer to your question, I really love the continued bonds. I really love the spiritual themes, and I think I personally just resonate with them. And I remember when we were learning it, I was looking at it and I thought, I do that and I do that. I continue bonds that way. And it was just, I don't know, it just sort of reaffirmed my love for those, I think. Just, yeah.
I love
Bringing
that.
them into me.
Continuing bonds work is just so special, isn't it? And I love that you came to the holding space session personally before doing the certification, and then coming along and learning that, and actually knowing that you're already doing so many continuing bonds things yourself. It feels like a very natural thing that you'll then end up helping other people with.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit on this, but how did the training impact your own grief? Because you're partnered, right, with Kate, who's been your peer coach for, yes, pretty much 7 months. How did the work impact you personally, emotionally, spiritually, somatically?
It was really incredible actually, and really transformative. So obviously before that I'd never had any holistic grief coaching. I'd had counseling, which was useful, but I found like there was no help with it at the end. I felt like it needed to continue and it wasn't. It was just talking. And so obviously practicing with Kate and having a partner to do the my own grief work has been really incredible. It has really helped me on my journey. It's really helped understand sort of emotionally what's coming up for me, my approach to it, how I look at it. It helps me to notice patterns with my emotions or my behaviors, my habits, where I'm in fight or flight or I'm out of my window of capacity. It's just really been helpful to talk to somebody who understands, but in a safe space. I'm quite a shy introvert and I'm quite highly sensitive. So having somebody that I feel comfortable with being able to talk about it in a safe way slowly has helped me. It's helped my mind and it's helped my body for sure. I've always had a really dysregulated nervous system, so it's been really helpful to look at it that way. Definitely.
Love that. And I feel like you and Kate have been just a really good pairing, haven't you?
Yeah, we've been perfect. There's nothing else to say, it's just perfect.
Oh, I love that. Making me like have goosebumps. So many different aspects, it sounds like, of the training, and bringing that into practice together has been helpful personally. Is there anything you'd say to anybody who feels like they have to be healed before becoming a coach?
Yeah, I definitely don't think that you have to be healed. I remember coming to you and saying I wasn't sure if I could do this, that I wasn't ready, or I was still going through my grief and I hadn't healed. I think what you said at the time sort of reflected back, and I'd say give it a go, because you don't have to be fully healed. You're never going to be over your grief, but it's your story and your passion and your light that helps you to be a coach. And when I look at how far I've come now, I am really proud. Obviously I've still got things to work on, but I would say if that's your passion and you feel drawn to do it, absolutely go for it.
I love that. And yeah, I totally agree with you. I still have my own coach, I still do my own work, and grief is an ongoing journey. I'm a great coach, but I'm also a human being. And so they go hand in hand. If you've ever felt the pull to turn your own grief into purpose, to support others with compassion and confidence, this is your invitation. The Holistic Grief Coach certification is enrolling now. It's a 6-month trauma-informed training that equips you with the tools to guide others through grief while also transforming your own journey. To find out more and join the next cohort, simply DM me the word certification at goodgrief_UK on Instagram. So what parts of yourself do you feel like you've maybe reconnected with, reclaimed? I think you said yesterday you've been a stay-at-home mum for, is it 17 years?
17 years, yeah. I feel like there has been so much growth in so many levels in my life since doing this course. I feel like it has really opened up my eyes, given me so much awareness, and I feel like I'm starting to find my place and find my confidence, figure out who I am. And it's been incredible, really, because I almost feel like I've been living under a shell or something for all this time, because I feel like I can cope and I can move forwards and I can enjoy life and I can help other people. Whereas before, I don't know, I was sort of like the motion of just going forwards. I wasn't, now I make sure that I'm regulated and I do breathing and I do tapping and all sorts of things. So, which I never would have done before, but it has helped me grow forward.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm so excited for you because it just feels like a new chapter has just begun. Yeah,
Yeah, it feels that way. All since the beginning of this year and starting this certification. Yeah.
that's amazing. And we've kind of talked about this, but how has your relationship with your emotions changed?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, as I say, I've spent most of my life in survival. I feel like I've been really dysregulated, and I wasn't aware of any of it, because it's not stuff that you're really taught in school or anything. And so, it hasn't been easy, and I still feel like I've got a long way to go. But now I am aware of my window of capacity. I am aware of when I'm in fight or flight. While it's not perfect, it's never going to be perfect. I am learning and adjusting to it as I move forwards. It's reframed how I think about things. I'm trying to be more, let's take a step back and see it. Like if I have an emotion come up, rather than avoiding it, hiding from it, or doing, what I'd normally do, keeping busy. Now I can allow it to come in. I can ask, what's it showing up for? What's it trying to teach me? And not feel embarrassed by feeling it as well. The emotions like sadness or, anger or, guilt. I don't look at those as bad anymore, which, obviously growing up I did. And so then, it has a ripple effect on your mind and your body when you're able to step back and look at it that way.
I love that. So it sounds like there's a level of just more like being with yourself rather than like judging yourself or being embarrassed by how you feel, and just knowing that all of that's okay. And also, you've mentioned a few times like the window of capacity, which for anyone listening who doesn't know what that is, it's a nervous system tool to help you know when you're in your safe zone and when you're not. And it's a really, really helpful guide to help him rebuild after loss. And it sounds like that's become really helpful for you as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, I definitely feel, after the losses, you do lose yourself for a little while. And doing this course and learning what I have learned has really helped in those areas of my life where it has affected my emotions and my body. And it's also just taught me to love myself a little bit more. Give yourself the love and the kindness that you need or that you deserve in your life.
Love that. I feel like that in itself just sums up a lot of the work we do. Yeah. So should we talk a little bit about what you're doing now as a coach? Because I feel like that in itself's become, it's just beginning, but this is where we're at, isn't it? You've got your certificate. You pretty much last week got your certificate. So what kind of clients do you support now? What do you hope to do with the certification? Who do you hope to help?
Yeah, so yeah, obviously, I think I can relate and support people that have lost their parents above anything, because that's basically what has driven me to, here to do this. But at the same time, I can work with anybody who's experienced any loss, whether it be a pet or a child or a friend. I believe in gentle healing and reconnecting with your identity and refinding yourself and your safety after loss. I think that's a big part of when you lose your parents, you're losing your safety and your foundation. So it's starting from the bottom and building yourself back up again. My sessions are built upon the framework that you've created, everything that you've taught me. I try to continue that with my own personal experiences, but also my personality. I feel like I am a highly sensitive person who's quite empathetic, so I believe that helps me to support my clients during their sessions moving forwards.
I love that. And you, like I said earlier, you hold such a safe, gentle space. I love that you're bringing in that gentleness, that huge strength. And a lot of people really need that. There's a lot of kind of rigidity, I think, from some coaching spaces, and grief support just isn't that. And I think you really show in your work like that sensitivity and safety that really is the most important piece. So, yeah, I love that you're kind of just like bringing in who you are to this work.
Thank you.
So you kind of talked about your unique kind of approach to the holding space, but how has stepping into this role as a holistic grief coach changed your life or your purpose or connected you to it?
It has given me purpose, I think, doing this certification and learning what I have learned, and obviously losing both my parents. It has given me that purpose and that drive that I want to be there and support others who are going on their grief journey. And I want to change the way that people see grief, and I want to change the way that people feel. I don't want people to feel alone. I felt quite alone after all my losses, actually. And I feel like it should be sort of normal, a normal part of our lives that we're not afraid or embarrassed to talk about.
Yeah, so important. There's so many taboos, isn't there, in grief, and just to know you're not alone is what so many people need. And I think that's why the certification has been so important to me. Is like you, there was no tool or support when I lost my dad, and it was kind of like push through, mask, and I ended up so anxious and so almost ashamed of how grief had impacted me. The likable version of me was the version of me that was like a mask, and behind closed doors I felt like, oh, like this is who I am, but nobody understands my grief. And so yeah, I feel like your work and the work we do is just, yeah, so important to helping people know that they aren't alone. So what would you say to somebody who's lost in their grief, feels maybe embarrassed in their grief right now?
I would absolutely say that you're not alone and you are doing better than you think, that this is a part of your journey. It's just a part where you are right now. Grief is always going to be there, but it isn't the end of your story. Not to be afraid to reach out, talk to people, find your people, because there's always the right people out there for you. And I would just say that I'm sure you have great strength and you're doing really well, and just find your way, your gang, and you work towards that safe place. Yeah, and I think it is there for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thinking about then maybe Gemma a few months ago, not sure if I'm ready to step into this work. What would you
Yeah.
say to someone thinking about becoming a holistic grief coach and they're not sure if they're ready?
Yeah, I would say to go for it. I wasn't ready. I think there's still been parts along the way where I haven't felt ready, but I think the knowing of what you're going to do, and helping support others and just not being afraid, just go for it, because now I can look back and I feel really proud. I feel really, yeah, really happy with how far I've come. And if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Amazing. So before we go into quick fire questions, is there anything else you'd say about the certification that you feel like I haven't asked you that you would want to share?
No, I think just give it a go. If you feel you're not sure, if you're too embarrassed, you haven't got enough confidence or self-esteem, any doubts that you're having, I'd say just get in touch with you, because that's what I did. And yeah, kept going. And it has been the most amazing transformational year I think I have had, where I don't feel like I've been in survival. I don't feel like I've been really struggling. So I'd say give this a go, because what you're learning is so much more than what you think. You think grief and you think you can learn that really quickly, but no, you can't. There is so much to learn. It's a really, really amazing course.
Thank you. You're going to make me emotional. Oh, so lovely to kind of talk to you about your journey. I know we don't get a lot of time to always just chat one on one, but it's been so nice to just hear you and hear your journey a little bit more, Gemma. So
Thank
thank you.
you.
Are you ready for some quick fire questions?
Yeah, go for it. I'll do my best.
So, how would you describe grief in one word?
In one word, I think I'd say heartbreak. Grief is heartbreak.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. And has there been a book or a practice that's really helped or changed you?
I think it's I'm Not Okay, or It's Okay That You're Not Okay by Megan
I
Devine. But there's lots of books. I can recommend lots, but I'd say that one had changed me. That was the first one I'd read.
love that book. It's on my shelf. And is there a quote or a phrase that has guided you recently or in your grief?
Yeah, it's when you change the way you look at things, the way you look at things change, and that's by Wayne Dyer.
That's powerful. And what's giving you hope right now?
It has to be this certification and my path forward. I'm hopeful for the future. Now I feel like I have a purpose.
I love that. Such good answers.
Thank you.
So, where can people find you? So, if they're feeling drawn to work with you, they're looking for somebody who gets it and they're really connected to that gentle healing approach you mentioned, where can they find you to be supported by you as their coach?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook, and I'm on there as Gem's Guiding Light. And on both of those pages there are links to contact information, and then a website will be coming soon, but it's not quite ready yet.
That's okay. And I'll link everything below. So when your website's available, that will be added below the video as well.
Perfect, thank you.
So if you're feeling drawn to work with a grief coach and you want somebody who creates a really safe, gentle space, I cannot recommend Gemma enough. Gemma, you've been an amazing student. Honestly, like, I'm so, so glad that you did this certification. When you said that you felt shy and you wasn't sure if that would make you a good coach, I just had such pause in my heart, because that's how I feel about myself sometimes, around being more introverted than others. And if I hadn't stepped into this work, I wouldn't have realized that how me being the deep thinker, the overthinker, the more reflective and highly sensitive person that I am, I wouldn't have had so many amazing experiences helping people through their grief. And so I just feel like you're going to help so many people. And I really, really cannot wait, like genuinely cannot wait to see what you do, because you're just an amazing human being and an amazing coach.
Thank you. Thank you. It means a lot.
I just feel really excited for you and for your path forwards. And I'm going to be supporting you all the way.
Thank you.
Amazing. Is there anything else you wanted to share?
No, I don't think so. I think, yeah, you've asked some really good questions. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming on to the podcast. And yeah, I really look forward to seeing you in mentorship space anyway. But yeah, thank you so much, Gemma. If today's episode resonated with you, please take a moment to subscribe, share this with a friend, or leave us a review. Every share and review helps this podcast reach more people who need it, and together we can shine more light into the grief space. And if you feel called to take this work deeper, or even train as a holistic grief coach, you can learn more by simply DMing me on Instagram @goodgrief_UK. Until next time, I look forward to seeing you soon.